Welcome to Conversations from Stritch. Today is Thursday, October 2nd. I'm Dr. David Livingston, president of Lewis University, and I'm joined by Dr. Christopher Sant, our provost. Today is Yom Kippur, the Jewish Day of Atonement, a solemn time for fasting, reflection, repentance, and seeking forgiveness. We hope all the members of the Jewish community at Lewis have a meaningful fast. It has been a really great week here at Lewis, and we are settling in nicely to the fall semester. We really only have a couple more weeks before the first 8-week session of our graduate programs and some of our adult programs are done. Yesterday was community hour, as it always is on Wednesdays. And we featured a week of welcome event focused on arts and crafts. It had a farmer's market, as well as a theater improv and a short film series. And as always, mass and community meal. We also had several clubs and organizations that had meetings during that hour. It's been a really great, I got to say, now I think it's normal to most people that, students that go to school here, but it's a newish thing, and it's really added a lot of vibrancy, I think, to the week to have Wednesdays just for an hour to get together. Tuesday was Orange Shirt Day, which is a commemorative day led by indigenous communities to raise awareness about the intergenerational impacts of residential schools on children, families, and communities. Lewis University marked Orange Shirt Day 2025 by hosting an in-person screening of the Oscar-nominated documentary, Sugarcane. The film investigates the abuse of indigenous children at a Catholic-run residential school and the intergenerational trauma that followed. Attendees and all members of the Lewis community were encouraged to purchase and wear Orange Shirt Day t-shirts designed by students from the De La Salle Blackfeet School. Proceeds support educational programs for Native students, and this initiative was part of Lewis's broader commitment to visibility and reparation action for Indigenous communities. This Saturday is Lewis Fest 2025. The last I heard, and I'm sure this number is continuing to grow up, there were 600 people registered for Saturday. I know that that was a while ago, so I'm sure that number will continue to rise. Lewis Fest is our annual campus celebration for students, families, alumni, faculty, and staff on the Romeoville campus. It'll feature a blend of community spirit, entertainment, and athletic events, and I'll talk about some of those more later when I talk about some of the things going on Saturday. But Chris, there's also a bunch of announcements about activities that are going on among our colleagues, and you're going to run through some of those.
Yeah, I have some news. Good afternoon, everyone. I have some news to share, as well as some reminders of some events coming up. So congratulations to the Lewis University Nursing Department, which was named as a top 5 program in Illinois by Registered Nursing and selected as the #2 best nursing school in the state. It emphasized the student test scores, our combination of a rigorous curriculum and holistic patient care, ethical decision-making, and a diverse range of clinical experiences. So again, congratulations to the whole nursing department and all the faculty who make the Lewis program so successful. The Organization Development Network has recognized 3 Lewis faculty members with an honorable mention award for Best Organizational Development Review Article of the Year. Dr. Michelle Kramer, Dr. George Klemick, who is a professor emeritus, and Dr. Leslie Page were all recognized for their outstanding substantive and research-grounded articles in that field. So again, a few events to mark on your calendars. Shakespeare's Twelfth Night will be performed as a one-man show by Tim Mooney at 7:30 on October 8th in the Keith White Theater. It's called Breakneck Twelfth Night, a whirlwind journey through this beloved comedy. The usual 2-hour play is condensed into a thrilling 1-hour performance featuring a single actor who brings to life the wit, romance, and mistaken identities of Twelfth Night with great speed and clarity. He showcases the play's humor and heart, making Shakespeare's language more accessible than ever. This is part of Arts and Ideas, and we are always grateful to the Illinois Arts Council for helping us make events like this possible. It's one of my favorite plays. I think 2 hours is super short. I don't need it to be an hour long, but it will be. And I meant to look this up, I forgot. There are probably 20 characters in this play, so that's pretty a big challenge. I can't wait to see how he manages to do that in this performance. An exhibition of the work of artist Paul Mitchell opens today at the Wadsworth Family Gallery and runs through October 23rd. His exhibition explores climate change and reflects the crises of global warming, ocean acidification, species extinction, and mass migration, with a focus on climate mitigation and healing. Really looking forward to going over and seeing that this afternoon, and there will be a reception and gallery talk on October 23rd at 7:30, which is the day that the show closes. And it's really time now for the Philip Lynch Theater to launch its 2025-2026 season with Alice Childress's Trouble in Mind, which follows a talented Black actress who lands a leading role in Chaos in Belleville, an anti-lynching play heading to Broadway. A cast of multi-generational Black actors rehearse under the purview of a white director and stage manager, and as the rehearsal process unfolds, theater conventions and racial politics collide, resulting in a surprisingly funny yet deeply piercing look at the entertainment industry. So that starts this weekend, October 3rd through 5th, and returns next weekend, October 9th through 12th. And our annual Peace Teach-In is just around the corner now, October 13th through 15th, here on the Romeoville campus. Over the course of 3 days, 14 sessions will analyze the intricacies and challenges of the doctrine of discovery, the experience of Indigenous peoples, and who is considered truly American in the United States. The Grove Memorial event will feature Sarah Augustine, former director of the Community Peace Center of Central Washington, and the author of the book, The Land is Not Empty. I'm really looking forward to that. It really connects to the Orange Shirt Day and the sugarcane documentary that we had this week. It's a really moving documentary and really makes you think. And it's a nice connection between those two things. And I really appreciate everyone from the Grow Institute and the Office of Community and Belonging for putting those events together. And I really look forward to Saturday too. It's going to be really exciting.
I was just going to say that what I as you get into the semester, you really feel what I love about being on a university campus is there's just always so much going on, and this sense of belonging. I just want to kind of put a shout out to that in terms of the sense of all these different events that are happened, certainly in the first 6 weeks, that focus on different populations, but really invite us all to understand better, to celebrate with them or mourn with them. And that really opens up this possibility of really feeling like people belong. And that's really, part of what this is about is how do we welcome everybody into the community, but also welcome people who may not be a part of that population, but can learn. Absolutely. I wasn't able to go to this documentary, but you were able to attend, and you learned so much by attending, and just that sense of building the empathy muscle, I think, is really valuable.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah,
so we got a lot going on also, and so let me just run through some of the things that are going on today. You can get your vaccine, your flu vaccine, over in the Ibrahim Conference Center, over in the Gaffney Center, starting at 1. The exercise studio this afternoon has circuit training. And then tomorrow, as you see on there, we have Pilates and yoga over in the exercise studio. Women's soccer versus Rockhurst is over at the stadium. And then tomorrow night, you can see the play that Chris talked about. You can also see men's soccer playing. And Lewis Men's Hockey has an off-campus. But if you're a huge hockey fan, I highly recommend going and seeing, we're playing Illinois State today, so we might even have some alumni that went to Illinois State but want to see kind of where you work right now or where you're going to school right now versus Illinois State, a big game for them. Going into the weekend, as I already mentioned, Saturday is a very full day. Check-in for Lewis Fest is from 11 to 12. We have the Angels Abuse 5K is happening in the morning. And then running throughout the day, we have a petting zoo, we have a cheer performance, bingo. There's so much stuff going on. And then we also have swimming will be in town. We also have women's volleyball that'll be hosting Upper Iowa. And then, of course, the play will be playing again on Saturday night. Looking at Sunday, the play plays again, but in afternoon, a matinee version of that, masses at night, and then women's and men's soccer will be hosting Southwest Baptist. Next week, as we look at some of the events, Monday's a busy day, clubs, that are going on. We also have an educational mental health talk night with Kayla DeCant in the evening at 5 o'clock, as well as a women's spirituality meeting over in the Lewis Family Room Tuesday. Lots of stuff going on there as well. Women in Aviation Club, flu vaccine going on as well. So lots of stuff going on, exercise classes. So there's a lot going on campus. Again, next week on Wednesday, again, as a community hour. There is next week, as you can see on this list, a bunch of events going on during community hour. I won't list them all, but really I would say next Wednesday, between that 12 to 1 slot, you can find there's something to go to during that time. And then there's a study abroad panel next week. So there's, both Chris and I have talked many times on this show about both of our experience studying abroad. So if you want to understand all the opportunities that you have next week on Wednesday in the afternoon, there's a chess club meeting as well and a men's spirituality group. And then we also have a creative expression in sand art workshop that's happening in the evening. So just a ton of stuff going on. Again, I love that part of being on a university campus is, I never tolerate somebody saying I'm bored when I'm here on campus because I've lost my breath just going through all the possible scenarios. So don't tell me that you don't have anything to do. So Chris, we have some great guests today and something I know you are super excited about. And I am also very excited about, but you know more about it than I do, but we have some expert guests that are going to help us to understand the impact that our community is having more globally.
Yeah, first a couple things. I'm really excited about all these events. I'm really glad we're having these vaccine clinics, and I know we keep putting flu clinic on there, but I think there might be more things that you can get vaccinated for, so please contact the health center for more information about what's available. And I think most of the emails that go out about that have more information. And we usually talk about, one of the reasons why there's so much going on is because all of our sports teams are in town this weekend, which is why we have Lewis Fest lined up next to it. And there's also a kind of borderline thing, which is our golf team is hosting a tournament at Cog Hill Monday and Tuesday. So I just wanted to throw that in. If you want to go over and root for them, please, they are local and hosting a competition on Monday and Tuesday. So just a reminder before I introduce our guests that you can email a question to askus@lewisuedu, and we will get the question into the conversation. We'll also, many people watch the show in a recorded way on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to ask the question anyway. It's just an email address and we can forward it to our guests or try to get it answered. So I'm really excited to introduce our guests. We're joined by Andrew Lenaghan, Director of the Lewis University Library, and Jason Smith, Scholarly Communications Instruction Librarian and the University Archivist, to discuss the new Digital Commons. Andrew's been our Director of the Library since 2019. He came to Lewis in 2014 as the Head of Library Instruction and Research, and he serves on numerous committees and task forces at the university, as well as chairing the Library Advisory Committee and co-chairing the Institutional Repository Steering Committee. Jason joined Lewis in 2024 and is the Scholarly Communications Instruction Librarian. He received his undergraduate degree and 2 master's degrees from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Along with his duties at the library, he's also an adjunct instructor in the history department, and I I'm guessing one of those master's degrees is connected to that. Well, maybe I'll ask about that. So welcome, both of you.
Thank
so
you.
Glad you're here.
Yeah,
so
thank you
much.
for joining us. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And we have a lot of things we love to talk about, and so we're trying to control ourselves a little bit and go one after the other. So maybe you could start, Andrew, and just talk a little bit about what a digital commons is.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks again for having us. A digital commons is part of a network of online institutional repositories. There's a couple of vendors out there that provide this type of platform service. We subscribe and pay for one through the bPress network. And these are primarily made to collect and center the work that gets done at a university or institution of higher education. And they can take multitudes of different forms. They could be something that focuses solely on scholarship and research. They could be focused on archival and preservation initiatives at different institutions. The one that we have launched here, our Digital Commons at Lewis University, is hoping to accomplish both of those tasks at the same time. We're starting with a focus and emphasis on research and scholarship at the university, because we feel that the initiatives that are currently underway with Lasallian research and scholarship, as well as the drive towards understanding the uniqueness and importance of Lasallian education, is essential to help put out into the world, to help promote the message of the Lasallian community on a global level. And so our Digital Commons right now is focusing that way. The hope later too, as we evolve with this, is to provide an area to showcase the rich, incredible history of Lewis University, both through the archives of the past, as well as the current amazing work that gets done at the community level and here at the university.
So let me, I'm going to step back one step, because I guess I don't want to assume that everybody appreciates and understands research. So I'm going to just kind of, I want to go one step back and say, if you could talk a little bit about, because we have students who, like in the spring, we'll do celebration of scholarship and we'll have people on for that, right? So students are doing research, not that they don't understand research, but some of them don't understand how it gets published and then how it gets tracked after it gets published. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about, how that moves into a system like this. So I'm sitting here at Lewis, I work at Lewis, I'm doing my research on the social impact of smartphones on adolescent brain, let's just say, right?
Yeah. Totally.
How does it get from, I start doing my research, I submit it, maybe you can even talk about that. How does submission happen?
Yeah.
When does it start showing up on this? Because it goes from idea, research, and then maybe you can take over, because then it ends up, quote unquote, in a library or in a common space.
Yeah, and I think too, just taking a step back from where you left that, is to kind of think about the nature of how research organically develops, right? And so your point about, I'm sitting there researching the effects of smartphones on different individuals, the first thing I'm going to be doing is sitting and reflecting upon the research that already exists out there within the community, right? And to do that, I have to find those resources, and I have to start to understand those communities, and I have to start to connect to those communities, both through maybe communication and emails, attending conferences, talking to them via different types of social networks and things like that. And so that's a pretty vital point that I want to make about it, because as we kind of skip forward real quickly to the institutional repository, the institutional repository is a place where they find that information and where they can start those conversations. One of the really, Jason's going to talk more in a little bit probably about the dynamic nature of our institutional repository, the Digital Commons. And I think one of the things that's really interesting about one of the examples of the dynamicism of it is that there is an ability to look at our local institution, but then also an immediate ability to zoom out and to be connected to all the other institutional repositories that fall underneath the bPress network, of which there are hundreds of thousands across the globe. And so as you think about, what I was just saying in terms of connecting to other people, institutional repositories can provide such a rich place to for researchers to connect to other researchers on a very immediate basis.
Right.
There's ways in which they can drill into their discipline through the institutional repository and see exactly who's publishing what and where. And so then to go back to the research process, what gets included in our institutional repository, and the majority of institutional repositories, I would say, because we want to provide the best examples of the research that we're doing. We want to promote the best of what our community is offering to the world, both research-wise, scholarship-wise, community-wise, is that the papers and research studies have to be published somewhere. So that could be in an open access environment, that could be through a peer-reviewed journal process, right? And once those get completed and it is published somewhere, either digitally or physically, then those then get sent back to the institutional repository and shared there.
Great.
And they can be pushed out again and promoted that way. And so again, the institutional repository serves multiple points. It serves that point of discovery. It also serves as a point of the participation in the community of research, right? Because as we know, just like with writing, it's cyclical. Research is cyclical. We don't just stop that study on the smartphones. We start one, we have conversations, we evolve our understanding, we go to the next one, we go to the next and the next one. And so then the institutional repository does that process as well, as along with preserving that work and keeping it intact and connected, I think, is really an important part to the institution where it was created.
Yeah.
So that's a really
And I want Chris to, he can ask the next question, but I'll just make one of the things that I've always loved about being a part of, for lack of a better word, the intellectual community, the global intellectual community I've published some things in my past, and I certainly read a lot that's been published. And this is what you were, I think, saying, Andrew, it's a global conversation that is also couched in time, right? Because I can have conversations in some sense with somebody who published something 20 years ago and might have passed away. I can have a conversation with somebody literally over email because I find out they're doing the same research I am right now. And it allows for this, because that's really what academics is. It's a conversation. Conversation about important issues. That's what we do. And we invite students then into that conversation. Help them to understand how the conversation occurs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jason, maybe you could go into a little bit more specificity, like how does it really work? How do people use it? And if I know that maybe we have some examples, but feel free to just say, I think we have an example from our website or whatever, and it will magically appear.
So I just wanted to build off of something Andrew was talking about in how the institutional repository serves as its own pathway. And that is the traditional method of publishing is, as I'm sure a lot of you people watching and people here are familiar with, is an author writes an article and then they give it to a journal who then usually has control over that article, or if an author wants to make it open access, they have to pay fees, and these fees can range from $200 to thousands of dollars to make it open access. So what an institutional repository does, and what's really baked into the mission of how they work, is that we make these articles open access, we make these works open access, and that's through either advocating for authors to publish in open access environments. We walk through and discuss and guide authors on copyright and what their rights are after publication, or we upload works as we're able to. So post prints, which are versions that authors receive after it's after the peer review, but before the journal really typesets it and makes it into their kind of distinctive image. A lot of these are usually not are able to be uploaded onto institutional repositories under a process called self-archiving, which is baked into nowadays a lot of journals because to keep up with modern day practices. But we some years ago, and it's called the serials crisis, where a lot of in libraries were usually the points of access for these paid journal articles and paid subscriptions. Subscription costs are increase a lot, and it's hard for institutions to cover those budgets. So authors are publishing in journals that they may not even have access to, and they don't have access to their own article then. But then that also means that other people don't have access to their articles if their institution doesn't provide it.
So you can do great research and write a brilliant article, but it might be locked away in a journal where 25 libraries in America pay the fee to have access to it.
And scholarship, as you build on scholarship, it's only as, not necessarily good, but it's only really bringing in sources that are available. There's probably tons of sources out there that are buried under years of subscriptions or years of obscurity that could be really helpful for future generations who don't have access to it.
So this is, I love this show. I love just being on it because I didn't know all this. I didn't know some of this technical detail. So tell me about, do most publishing houses now that do these journals allow for self-archiving? I mean, do you have a sense of percentages? Like is JAMA or, Journal of American Medical Association, are they saying, yeah, if you want to do this, you can self-archive, and that's just built into the kind of I sign off on this, and meaning that because it's self-archiving at your home institution's library. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's how it works. So, do you have a sense of that percent? I mean, I'm sure there's still a percentage of publishing houses that say, no, we won't allow that because we want everybody to have to come through our portal, for lack of a better word. But do you have a sense of that?
For the most part, a lot do nowadays, especially the big ones, which you're thinking of like Springer, Wiley, and a lot of the really big names who have like a ton of different journals.
Right.
A
lot of for self-archiving.
Yeah, a lot of them do. There's always going to be some that don't. Or in some cases, a lot of them always will allow preprints, which are the version before you submit the article, which then gets into questions of, is this a good representation of the work I'm trying to do? Is this a good representation?
So that was my follow-up question, Jason, is, so let's say I do a self-archiving on this pre-printed or whatever I want to call it, pre-published piece. Can I then, at the bottom or something, say, like, it is going to be published in JAMA?
Yeah, and usually you have to include those.
Okay,
So
so it's kind of their, they own the copyright, functionally, right? And but that also helps for the person doing the research to say, I might not have access to JAMA, but this is functionally the same article, and I know that it's in one of these issues somewhere, and I can read it in this other way. Yeah, it's great.
So what you're really, another way of saying what you're saying is that having this institutional repository, the Digital Commons, allows our faculty, scholarship, and research to make a bigger impact in the world by being more accessible.
And part of that too is that platforms like this have a lot of built-in mechanisms for. I use a lot of technical terms, so if you ever need me to clarify,
we will.
I'm sure I will.
So, one thing that they really do is they're very good with harvesting data and as well as indexing data. So this means when people search for, say, like in your example, if they're searching for adolescent brains in smartphones in Google, Google will actually take the article from the institutional repository and display it on its search results.
All right.
So part of the mechanics within Digital Commons is that we can see those stats, how many people are coming to the articles from Google.
Right.
So to us, that indicates that these articles are doing really well and they're appearing within the first few pages of Google, enough that people are clicking on them as part of their research or even just casual.
Right, for sure. Yeah.
Well, and I think I don't want to go off on this tangent too far, but this is why this is so important to me and why I'm so happy that it exists now, because it allows us to understand the impact of the research that goes on at Lewis in a whole range of different ways on, the traditionally measured ways, and also just in ways that are more about making the world a better place. And it also allows us to communicate to ourselves and to our board and to all kinds of other audiences what a tremendous impact our faculty have on the world, because I think a lot of times people think it's a university. Of course, it's a bunch of classrooms and people teaching in them, and students learn things from teachers, and they don't think a lot about what else is going on in terms of the work that faculty do outside of the classroom, and the way that obviously the teaching is connected to scholarship that they're doing.
Right.
So and I think so my favorite part is that we have a map.
I wanted to allow you to ask the question. I was going to go there.
So I don't know how to ask it. I believe we have a map that shows the impact. So could one of you explain what we're looking at?
Yeah, so this map you see here is right on the landing page of our institutional repository, which the link is above there, digitalcommons.lewisu.edu. And this map shows just within the past 30 days where articles are being downloaded from. So each dot is one reader who has downloaded one of the articles in the repository. So just even looking at this, it's a quick way to see really how far-reaching scholarship has been already.
And we're just really beginning to populate it, right? So this looks really distributed across the world and is making an impact. And now I have a new concern, which is once it's filled up with the actual scholarship going on at Lewis, isn't it just going to be a big dark green blob? Because
That's what you want, though, right?
Yeah, right. Maybe there's a way to filter it for just like this hour.
Yeah, can you?
What is the impact?
And is there a way for, I don't know if it's anybody can do it or just you can do it, Jason, is there a way for you to, for lack of a better word, kind of click on one of these dots and say, oh, that was somebody, from Buenos Aires, or that was somebody from, Santiago. I mean, I'm looking at, the whole east coast of South America, so Brazil and down into Argentina. Looks like there's a lot of that, those dots, and of course also in the Midwest of the United States. So I don't know if there's a way of, and I'm not saying like I know that it was Sally from Glencoe or something, but I know that it was somebody. Like we had a lot of people looking at this article in Santiago, Chile. Is that? I mean, is that possible?
Yeah. So what you see here is actually just like a really surface level look at a lot of the data in there. So each dot has a location, like specific location attached to it, but then there's also data on institutions that are accessing it. So if they are from an academic or business or commercial enterprise, it also gives you the exact article that they accessed, again, their location. It doesn't give anything like specific, like security, like IP or name or anything, but it does give a lot of really minute detail and exactly what kind of institutions are accessing it. I think is really interesting and really important to assess.
So, I mean, I guess me trying to reverse engineer this, it's valuable for Chris and I because we can say, the research being done by our faculty, and I assume we could narrow this to like the COS, our faculty within COS are impacting research in this way, which might be different than COAST, who's being read in a individual person's article. But for a faculty member, it feels like it can also be really valuable because if they look at this, once a month and they see, wow, my article really, it seems like there's a lot of downloads from, SUNY Buffalo, right? It seems like there's a lot of interest. I might want to reach out to somebody at SUNY Buffalo because I wonder why they're so interested in my research, right? Because it might be a colleague that is doing similar research. So that's possible.
And I also wanted to mention, as we talk about faculty, it's also an important resource because graduate students and certain undergrad studies can be uploaded into here too. And to me, that's really important because especially for upper level undergrads or grad students going on to careers or into internships, into higher, like undergrads going to grad school, they have a way to show all of the work they did, all of the research they conducted, and then they can demonstrate its impact to prospective employers.
Like somebody's actually reading this. And using it.
I wasn't just practicing when I was in college. I was making a difference in the world, with my ideas.
So can you, one of the things that I'm just interested in, both of you have been in this, but Andrew, you've been in this longer, not to, be aging people on this show, but so could you talk to me a little bit about how libraries have evolved? Like where, and maybe where, he has to put up with me. He can't.
I warned you. I warned them that this was going to happen.
I'm glad he has this question too.
So tell me a little bit about where this is all going because it is fascinating to me. Obviously, I want to go back to my comment about and I'm positive in general, but it is an ongoing conversation. I want to start there.
Yes.
This is how the conversation occurs through these resources.
And this is an example of how different it is than when we were in grad
school.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, I literally had to go to cards. Right?
Yes.
Go through
individually,
card index and like find it and
then
and
if you
go
really
look
wanted
the Dewey
someone
Decimal System and find out where it was on a shelf 3 floors down and
so this long mysterious process of filling out a form,
exactly.
giving it to somebody and then coming back 3 weeks later to get your document from another university that's like 20 miles away.
We are totally aging ourselves, Chris and I are, but that is totally
that was also my experience too.
Totally my experience. But 2025 is not like that. And I would say from 2000 to 2025, there's been significant radical shifts.
Yes.
And my sense is if we went from 2025 to 2050, it's hard for me to imagine. But if I just take that 2000 to 2025, you've been in this field most of that time. Maybe you could talk a little bit about those shifts quickly, and then, maybe directionally where it's going.
Yeah, I think the important thing that I always think about, and I try to center ourselves around in our library here at Lewis, is the mantra of libraries are a reflection of their community. And so what that does is that forces us as librarians to constantly be attentive to and be present in the moment of evolution of information, meaning that as things are changing around us, the library is looking at how the community is responding to those changes and those different new technologies that are coming in, and that we are responding in terms of providing those resources and the platforms that they're coming out on. Like, just a real quick example is that we have a large ebook collection. We have a large audiobook collection now through this platform called Boundless, which is available to all Lewis community members. So that's a big change, right?
So I should get rid of my Audible account because I'm a
should.
voracious Audible. I get like 4 books a month, and but I don't need to spend that money because I can throw it through Boundless.
You do not. Yes.
Tell it for 9 months.
Yes, right.
I'll get that in my contract. Permanent subscription to Boundless. Anyway, but what you're saying is like people are reading differently.
People are reading differently. People are accessing information differently. The world writ large is encountering information differently. I think one of the biggest radical shifts academic libraries had going back to your time frame between 2000 and 25 is the 2005 book project by Google. That was a radical sea change watershed moment in academic libraries. By and large, the libraries that were not participating in that project, there was research institutions like University of Michigan, Stanford that were supplying the books for the initial stages of that project. But by and large, the smaller state schools, private institutions, things like that, were a little bit caught off guard because suddenly that was a radical shift in how we delivered information, right? The idea that we were no longer the point person to gather the book from the stacks, to talk to the person about advising them on which books to get and things like that was a radical shift, right? And so then we had to rethink as librarians and as a profession how we then interacted with our community to still be the reflection of the community. And I think then you saw a lot of building of different types of products that helped with librarians providing access in different ways, that interoperated with online platforms more seamlessly. A great example of this is our research guide collection, which is provided through a company called SpringShare. But these research guides are small tutorials or more targeted guides around specific types of collections. It could be for a course. They could even be created to have the course pack for a student taking a course, and that's all they use is this research guide to help them navigate through things. So I think the biggest shift that we've seen in these last 25 years is us being forced to encounter and reckon with and accept and participate then finally in the online world around us. And this comes in a variety of different ways. It comes through the digital content that I just mentioned. It comes through the building of new platforms to access information. It also comes through, most importantly, especially in the academic library world, the understanding of educating people and students in the communities around how to interact with the online environment in an academic way, right? So that's a more intellectual way of saying, like, how do I know the information I'm looking at is valid, right? Kelly Plass, our head of instruction and research right now currently, does a tremendous amount of work with faculty and students in our instruction and research department to help them become more efficient in looking at information and discerning whether or not that information is useful, making sure it's viable, making sure it's credentialed, whether or not it's operating within context that is appropriate and correct with other people talking about the same topic. And these are huge things,
and,
right?
And I just want to point out that is huge this is how you take in information as an academic. I just want to note that part of what we do is to prepare people professionally and academically for their future.
Absolutely.
And the other part of what we do is to prepare them as citizens.
Yes.
And I would say this is equally or more important for citizenship because if the information I'm taking in can't be validated, then for me that's, I don't want to get into a polarizing topic, but it is. Like, being college educated means you should understand what information is valid as a citizen.
Absolutely.
So as a voter, I want to understand something about water.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
In my community. I should be able to do that differently.
Yes.
After having graduated than before because of the work that you do.
So
Yes.
can I ask
Yeah.
a related question to that, or just a transition question? So it's different, and I don't know what Kelly does. I'm really curious how the transition from Google, which I think we've been helping people understand as a resource for 10 years or 15 years, to AI is changing how to train students when they're learning how to sift information.
Yeah.
And then I have a maybe related but much less deep question, which is the digital commons uses search optimization in a way that, again, I don't want to date myself, but I remember literally learning for 3 weeks in graduate school, like exactly what to type into that little bar.
Yes.
So that it didn't actually found the right thing, and then there's slashes and parentheses, and so how much has library business been actually improved as a result of AI being more sensitive to more common language around searching?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the struggles that we have as a profession writ large is that we are constantly trying to think about the students' experiences both in the open web and how they talk to Google and things like that, and they might talk to an AI versus how they might talk to a platform like our discovery service Primo, right? That searches everything that we have in the library at the same time. It's a federated search. And so, it's not as robust currently as something with Google, right? It's trying to be, there's different features that are being added into it. So I think that's one aspect of librarianship that we still have to kind of continually refine ourselves on to make that experience with students when they're doing research in our library resources versus they're doing research on the open web, make those transition points as seamless as possible, right? So that there's not a lot of hangups there in the differences. I think the other part too, kind of going back to what you were talking about with the advent of AI, is that, information fluency, information literacy, these concepts that are embedded in pedagogical approaches to helping people understand how do I know the information I'm getting from a government source or an independent non-for-profit is valid and credible, right? About the water system in my community, about the loans I can get for my car or my truck, my house and things like that. I think that is being extremely complicated with AI, and I think now our work as librarians, and this is the work that Kelly's team primarily focuses on, is educating students on not just how to determine whether or not the information you're seeing in front of you is accurate, but taking it apart and looking at, are the sources they're looking at real sources, right? Are the sources, or are they hallucinatory, right? And that's a way to detect whether or not it's been produced by an AI. Looking at things across different types of contextual environments to see if the information matches, in different websites and different locations. And so, the idea that's called lateral reading, I think that's another concept that now has become very imperative as we think about the inclusion of AI into our information ecosystem. And then, also, really focusing on something that we're very concerned with right now, and I'd love to have another conversation about this over an entirety of a Christmas break, perhaps, is the ethics of AI, right? The ethical use of AI and the understanding of, as we use it as researchers, what is that ethical use, right? What is our responsibility as a researcher to say, I produce this work, or do we have a responsibility to say we also used part of an AI to produce this work? Which I think as it evolves, it's going to be a continually ongoing conversation.
Going back to, so I do read a lot of books on Audible, and I've found more and more recently, and it feels like it's just in the last month or two, that at the end of the book, it doesn't just say you can't use anything in here, but it says no artificial intelligence large language model can use anything within this text to learn on. And that is literally, it's a change in the last, I would say, 2 months or so. For me, that so many of these books now, I'd say the last 4 or 5 books I've read, they say that at the end because Random House or whoever is saying, you just can't scan our stuff just because you get it off of Audible or get it out of a library. You can't learn off of this. I won't let you. That is a fascinating, because again, for me, it goes back to what Jason was saying initially is, in some sense what they're saying is, I don't want this out there for the world to be scanned and learned from. So I'm going to keep it safe, right, inside here. And then I guess I would say, not for today, but how does our digital commons, can it protect the things that are on our digital commons from being used by a large language model? Because I assume the large language model can come into our digital commons.
Yep.
It can just crawl the whole thing.
Yes.
And then it can use it to educate itself
Yes.
against potentially that journal article. Because, now I'm self-archiving, but the journal article says at the end of it, you can't use this for a large language model.
Right.
So now we have these two sources.
Yeah. Different rules.
How do we? So I mean,
So we
there's so
can't-
many
that's the-
ethics around this. I know we gotta.
No. That's absolutely it. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we got to stop. This is a great conversation. We didn't really get to talk about the archive at all, so
Maybe we'll come back into the
please.
archive at some point.
In the-
I'm sorry.
in the
I apologize.
interim- No, it's
This is what I do. It's
in
fine.
the interim, before we have them back, contact Jason if you're interested in what's in the archive and want to talk about how that
Right.
works here at the university. And thank you both so much for
Yeah.
being
Thank
here.
you very much for having us. Yes,
Fascinating.
thank you.
The work
Yeah.
you do is really
Incredible.
important.
And again,
so
I'm
thank
so
you for
happy
all-
that we're
for
doing
that.
it. Yeah.
So I want to say thank you to everybody who watched both today in person, live, and those that will watch over the next month or two. Thank you for being a part of this community, and we're really grateful for our guests today. We wish you, again, a very meaningful and powerful Yom Kippur for those celebrating that fast today. And we also wish everyone in our community a wonderful weekend and many blessings to you and all those that you love.